Unfortunately, we know that we've got to kick open 100 more doors as women and as women of color.
Latino and Latina founders received only 1.5% of total US venture capital dollars.
You don't have to be a Latina to invest in another Latina-owned business.
As a female Latina investor or venture capitalist, this work is really deeply personal to me.
This is the Brown Way to Money podcast, where women of color in business find their financial independence path. Because financial success is within our reach, but by playing by their rules, it is only going to take us halfway there. To succeed, we must take ownership of our voice with money. So, welcome to the Brown Way to Money podcast. So, let's dive into it. Tell me about your VC company and what led you to start investing in Latina entrepreneurs?
Yes. Fabric is a U.S. seed fund only investing in diverse founders in consumer tech, health tech, and fintech. We lean into my almost 20 years of marketing expertise to make sure that we're not just picking winners in the space, but we're really truly making winners in the spaces when we pick founders. Well, I started my career as a corporate M&A attorney. I have an MBA in digital marketing. Took over a family business very young and then launched a marketing agency, also marketing mostly with diverse leaders and diverse founders. But because of my legal and business background, a lot of private equity and venture firms were naturally coming up to us to market them. And a few years ago, one of the GPs was like, you need to go launch your own fund. You have this insane early deal flow, this marketing special sauce, and this commitment to diversity. And honestly, at first, Alejandra, I was like, no, thank you. I'm an operator. I don't need a second headache. I'm good. And then I saw not only was that the audience that we were already serving in a very deep and meaningful way, but that less than 2% of all GPs were women like me or any other diverse candidates. And less than 2% of all venture dollars was going to diverse founders. But what most people don't know is the other side of that, which is really what drove us to launch the fund in this category, which is that, and I'm sure you know this being a Latina, is that when when diverse founders do receive capital, on average, we return at a 25% higher return rate because we've had to be scrappier with less. We make a dollar stretch to five. And so when we do get money, we really make it return. And so I saw both sides of that and frankly saw a business opportunity. I always tell people, like, I'm definitely a bleeding heart, but I'm a capitalist first, right? And so there was a model there that I thought I could execute on better. And that's really how it started.
And so when you're looking to invest on these founders, what is sort of your checklist? Why are you paying attention first? And what ultimately leads you to the decision to invest in this founder?
We have a couple of things that make us unique. First of all, we say we don't invest in anyone who's pale, male, or stale. They have enough. They can get their capital elsewhere. So first and foremost, they have to be a diverse leader. And so we don't just invest in Latina or Latin founders. We invest in all Black and brown founders, female founders, queer founders, et cetera. So it's the holistic diversity buckets. And then it starts with a gut check. Do I think this founder is solving a real problem? Do I think that they're the one to solve it? How do I think they're going to deal with adversity? And do I think I can add value, right? Because we've got this very clear expertise on the marketing side. And so when we start the real diligence process with a founder, we do a layered diligence that's marketing focused using our listening software from the agency. So that software tells us if their numbers are real, how far are they from their competitors from an omni-channel marketing perspective, which ultimately tells us if our check is going to meaningfully close the gap for them. So it's part art and science, as I'm sure most venture funds would attest to. But if I'm being totally honest, I have a very strong gut reaction. And when I meet a founder and I'm like, this founder is the founder, the backs of my knees start to sweat. I know it's a very strange thing, but I have this very visceral reaction to founders that I find exciting and that I think are solving real problems.
What is some of those founders that you're working with right now that you are very excited to see how it goes?
Well, I think that women's health and femtech, although I hate the term femtech, is where we focus a lot of our attention. But in relation to what you're doing, we have a woman named Gina Sanchez, who's a Latina founder in deep tech and fintech. You don't see a lot of women in those spaces, especially Black and brown women. She is so brilliant. I met her at a women's dinner and she was an instant yes for me. She had such a high IQ and EQ, which is also very rare in deep tech and fintech founders. And you could see everyone light up around the table and everyone get really excited about her. And then nobody followed up with her other than me. It was a table full of money. So I followed up with her and she was so grateful that we did. She, of course, went through the diligence process with us, but she ended up accepting our money because I do think that it needs to be on both sides interview because she had such an IQ and high EQ, as I said, that she knew that she needed a fund like ours that not only was coming to the table with capital, but had the marketing expertise as well. Because she has developed a very sophisticated fintech product. So the sophistication of the product was over here and the people that were buying it were a little less sophisticated. So she knew that she wasn't communicating it properly. And so I just thought she was quite brilliant and super excited about what she's building in this space.
What would you say to those founders that are looking to get invested, those Latinas that are making the effort? Because that's the reality that we see, right? They're overworking there. But what do you think it is that key factor that they need to transmit in order to get the attention from angel investors or VC?
Well, unfortunately, we know that we've got to kick open 100 more doors as women and as women of color. Certainly you do as well. So for me, it's really about building the right target list, right? There are so many funds out there and there aren't very many that invest in these categories. So making sure that you're talking to an organization like Fabric or Halogen, which is another fund I would highly recommend, or Slauson & Co., which has an accelerator program. And I'm giving these to you so you can follow up with them where I can happily introduce you, of course. But there are so many of us fighting the good fight in this space. So for first and foremost, I would say, aside from, of course, having your ducks in a row, having a tight pitch deck, having your data room really solid, making sure you're not talking to a brick wall, right? There's so many people out there when you talk about femtech, these men that have been, running these multi-billion-dollar funds and the blank stares that you get because they've not had that lived experience.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's so important. And the last question I want, because I know there is somebody listening to this podcast and reading this article that is asking, well, like, how can I talk to them? What is the best way to be VC ready for somebody that has never heard what VC is and they just need money?
Well, there are a lot of accelerator programs. So Slauson & Co. has an accelerator program. Women Founders Network, where I sit on the board of, has an accelerator training program. There are so many programs out there to get founders VC fundraising ready. So I really don't think there's an excuse anymore to not be. The other thing that is amazing about this era that we live in is that you can literally ask ChatGPT to build a daily training module for you to teach you the ins and the outs of the basics around venture. So whether you're doing it live with a fund that has an accelerator offshoot, or whether you're just learning through the tools online, like I'm learning right now through a platform called Coursive, Coursiv, all about AI tools and how best to apply them to marketing, because that's my other company. So there's so many opportunities, YouTube, these applications, ChatGPT, and the accelerators. So there's no excuse.
First, tell me, how did you got into VC? Like, why getting into that space?
Well, like with many things in life, it started with connection and a conversation. So I met someone who was a co-founder of a venture capital called Unfiltered Investors. And we were talking about different things. We were talking about career. We were talking about just different things. We both belong to another organization, Latinos in Tech organization. And he mentioned Angeles just in passing, and he mentioned that he founded, this organization so that Latinos can support other Latino founders. And so he quickly moved on from the conversation. And I said, wait, tell me more about, what you're doing and what the goal is and why and all of that. And so like with everything in life, it started with just a conversation with someone. And I thought, this is something I want to learn about. I want to invest in. I want to challenge myself and, quite frankly, put my money where my mouth is, right? So I sort of, went on a journey to learn. And, I learned about, sort of how to vet founders, and I'm still learning, right? I'm a new angel investor, but you have to put yourself in the rooms with others who have done these things. And so while I'm also learning, I am very aware that, this is my own money. And, while you learn, you also need to have your own discernment. And what I've realized too is, I've been in business for a really long time, and I've been able to accomplish a lot. So I got my own set of skill set, right? And my own set of business acumen that I can bring to this. And so while I started, hey, I'm going to learn about this and then, invest my own money, I realize and come to understand that I've got a lot that I already know that I can use to make decisions about, which founders and companies that I want to invest in.
So let's talk about those qualities. Like, what are the most important things you look in founders, or that you are actively looking to find on those founders?
There's a couple of things that I look for. I think the one of the things is, I think the first thing is, innovation. Are they solving a real problem in the market, or is it a perceived problem? What is the pain point that the solution is bringing to bear? And are they taking that problem and building relational capital to solve that problem? So are they working, have they acquired customers? Are there partners that are helping them, achieve scale? Is there a community that's amplifying, the solution and the product? Basically, is there ecosystem validation that there really is a problem in the market and that their solution is actually solving for the problem? So that's one. And then the other is that founder able to answer the tough questions, because we're all sort of determining in the pitch meeting, is this a person? Is this a founder that we want to invest in, aside from the product and the solution? So we're asking tough questions just to see, are they able to answer those questions? And then what manner are they answering those questions? So that's the second thing that I just sort of like gut check on. And then I also look at, what is their go-to-market strategy? So is it, a unique, value proposition, or are they looking to just, not just, but take market share from another, industry or solution? So basically, are they building a better mousetrap, or are they solving a unique problem? So I look at that in terms of, innovation. And then it's sort of this quality that you look for, are they battle tested? Are they resilient? Have they gone through, in building their product, building their company, have they gone through challenges and have come out on the other side with resiliency? So, whether it's, going through, FDA regulation, or is it their data or customer acquisition, right? So what are some of the things that they've been battle tested and have come out from the other side? And so those are some of the things that I look for.
So in your time investing in Latinas, what do you see is the most rewarding results that these founders have had so far?
So in terms of investing in Latinas, what's been the most rewarding? I think it's this concept, Alejandra, that no one is coming to save us. And we've heard this, right? And I truly believe this. We talk about, the lack of VC funding for Latina-owned businesses, while Latinas owned businesses is the fastest growing demographic of all businesses. And so we talk about that. I know for me, I have this sort of idea that I want to be part of the solution, because we can't rely on others to uplift our community and to support each other. So the idea that no one's coming to save us. So I want to be part of the solution versus complaining about the actual problem, right? I want to put my money where my mouth is. I want to help solve the current, problem. And to me, that's one of the things that's the most rewarding. I can put my money anywhere, right? I can put it in the stock market. I can put it anywhere in order to grow generational wealth. This is one avenue that I think I want to be able to do that and and help solve this problem.
What do you think are 3 things that people getting to get this funding, this investment, should avoid at all costs?
Well, I think one of the main things when you're pitching to angels or VCs is make sure that you show up with community proof, right? And be ready to explain it. Show up with the data, with your sales. Show up with the cost of goods sold. Show up with your customer acquisition costs. Show up with user data and user. Show up with do you have repeat customers? Do you have customers? Be able to show up. So don't show up without the community proof, without the data, and then be prepared to explain it to us in a manner that is saying that really. So show up doing that, right? Don't show up without that social proof. I think the other thing too, where I see some founders sort of flounder, is don't get defensive when pitching. There is a reason that we're asking questions, because we don't know your business the way that you know your business. We're getting into the weeds of the questions because we're trying to discern where if this is a viable opportunity for us to invest in. And so I really like founders who are able to answer really, the tough questions without getting defensive. To me, that shows a lot of maturity in the business, and a business person that I want to be able to partner with, and that they have the ability to build relational capital across the entire ecosystem, not just customers and partners and creators and affiliates to build their business, but also have the ability to build that relational capital and connection with investors as well. So that's another thing. I think, the other thing to think about is how you can position your company within the broader portfolio of the organization, because if you can sort of identify, hey, within the portfolio, this is where I see gaps, and this is where my company and my product helps to compound with the other portfolio. I think that's another way to sort of show up. So don't ignore that. Don't ignore sort of the investor's overall portfolio and that thesis that can help round out and make you. So that would be.
If you could put together, this was the perfect conversation that I had with a Latina founder, and it went like blah, 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 what would you say it was?
Yeah, so I think there's a combination of things that, Alejandra, I'm still learning. But I think there's a couple of things. So there's things that I've mentioned around the business, and then some character traits that I like. But besides that, I think it's got to be sort of the entire package. It's the business. Is this a business where I think, I want to invest in, where I see a return on my investment? So that's one. And then there's the founder's sort of, temperament, personality, business acumen, resiliency, overcoming obstacles, things like that. And the passion. Like, I like to see someone who's passionate about their business, but that to me is not a requirement.
Okay.
It's not. I've seen, there's all kinds of personality. It's not a requirement. So, but is this someone that I trust? Because at the end of the day, I'm writing a check, and I've got to be able to trust that founder. So there's, there's different things that I look for, but it's a combination of, the company, the founder, and then me, right? Am I a customer of this, founder? Could I be a customer? And then the other thing that I look at is, so am I a customer, or is this an industry that I want to get into? Because there's some industries that I just have no interest in, or I don't have it's not appealing to me, or, it's not something that I would even want to be involved in. It's not an area of of expertise for me, or I don't see where I can add value, right? If the founder called me and asked the question, perhaps it's not an industry that I'm familiar with, and I don't have a sense where I can add value. So I think there's sort of different pillars that I also look at. So there's no perfect founder conversation that I've had, but I'll let you know if one happens.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
I'll let
please.
you know what happens. I'm still, I'm still learning
Yeah.
but there's one thing I will tell you. I also, and this is not a requirement because it's, again, every time you hear a pitch, it's interesting. But is it something that I think is, what's the word? Not controversial, but I'm always fascinated in looking at companies with products that are not things that we think about day to day. So I really like that, right? It's solving a solution that I am like, I wish I would have thought of that.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
that's something I look at as well.
Okay, and lastly, what is your vision for you as an angel investor from now, maybe 5 years down the road? What do you see? Where do you see yourself? And what are you hoping that your investments change in the industry as well?
I think 5 years from now, I would like for one of my investments to actually exit. That would be a great sort of validation of my efforts. I would like to see myself, I approach almost everything in life in a crawl, walk, run model. So I'd like to increase year over year the number that I'm investing in. So that's one. I would like to see a return as well. And honestly, I'd love to see more, Latina owned, led businesses come to market. And I think with everything that's happening in our economy, Latinas are opening up more business than any other, demographic. And I'd love to see where, the pitches that I hear are 50-50% Latinas, or even 60-40 Latinas to Latinos. I'd love to see an increase in that. And the other thing that I will say is, you don't have to be a Latina to invest in another Latina-owned business. So I'd love to see that number increase. I'd love to see the number of funding going to Latinas increase as well. So I want to be a part of that. I want to be a part of the solution, not the problem. And so those are things that I'd look to see.
Ashley, thank you so much and welcome to one episode of The Brown Way to Money. Please introduce yourself and let us know from what VC we are talking about today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm Ashley Balla. I'm the partner of Halogen Ventures. We're an LA-based venture capital fund investing in early stage companies founded by women in consumer technology and B2B.
Let's start with, what are the most important things that you look when you are researching founders to found?
Well, at Halogen, we're really laser focused on female founders who are reimagining the way that we live, the way that we work, and we really care for our families. So we've built our thesis really around the $7.5 trillion future of family category, which we identified through our National Future of Family study. So this really includes some of the most pressing challenges of our time, from childcare all the way to healthcare to financial wellness. And in 2024 alone, we saw over 1,000 deals from women-led startups, which is insane, proving there's no really lack of innovation coming from female founders. And our portfolio now includes 75 companies and counting. We have 5 unicorns and a combined $15 billion in market value, and not to mention 100% female founded. So I've met with a lot of founders in my VC career.
Yes.
When I meet with founders, here's what I look for. I'll share four simple things. It's resilience and real world experience. So you don't need an Ivy League degree to impress me, although that's fantastic. But really what matters is that you've built something, anything, and have the grit to navigate the inevitable challenges that you just can't avoid. And 2, a vision for building a strong team. Every great founder knows that they can't do it alone. So whether that's a CTO, a CFO, a co-founder, a marketer, an engineer, these founders really surround themselves with complementary talent to really scale their vision and take their company to the next level.
Uh,
Three, I would say an open mind. So startups
uh,
evolve constantly, as you know, and we're investing in early stage. I'm seeing this time and time again. Founders who listen, who adapt, and can stay flexible, even in hard times, is a huge advantage. Last, I'll share is a big, bold thinker. This one is so important. We love founders who dream big, who shoot for the stars. And at the end of the day, we're not just investing in businesses, we're in the business of investing in people. And so I love people who are bold enough to tackle society's biggest challenges, who are innovating, who are creating, and who have the courage to do it in a way that will change lives for generations to come.
I love that you mentioned that boldness, because when it comes to Latinas and Hispanic founders, that's something that we hear. Like, I don't know if I'm dreaming too big. I don't know if that's like out of this space, right? So what is your point of view on specifically Latinas founders? What have you seen is the most rewarding things that they do for you that as an investor?
Yeah. Well, as a female Latina investor or venture capitalist, this work is really deeply personal to me. So, growing up, I didn't see many people in venture capital who look like me, who live the same experiences as me. And really, everything I did, I've learned at Halogen confirms what I've always believed. And it's investing in women and diverse founders is not just an impact play, it's just smart business. And as I kind of think about this question, I think about the statistic that we always hear. It's 2% of venture capital dollars goes to women. But I recently brought up this study that I read, and in 2022, Latino and Latina founders received only 1.5% of total U.S. venture capital dollars. I think it was a McKinsey report. But representation in VC decision making is so low. 7% of decision makers. I'm just going to throw some stats at you.
Yes, please.
7% of decision makers at venture firms are women. 1% of those identify as Black, and only 2% identify as Latinx. And diverse investors really are more likely to back diverse investors. That's just what the data says. And so, which is why representation on the investor side matters so much. Joining groups like Somos VC, a group of Latino and Latina venture capitalists, All Raise, a group of women venture capitalists, have been instrumental to creating a more equitable future. And as a young Latina investor, this data isn't just numbers, it's proof. Female and diverse founders operate leaner, they're smarter, they generate twice the return per dollar, they outperform, they exit, they build companies really rooted in real life solutions, and yet they get just a sliver of the capital pie, which is astonishing to me. It's wild. So backing, these diverse founders is powerful performance driven strategy to really build the future. And I think about, at Halogen, we've really built this portfolio that reflects communities we want to serve. So over 40% of our portfolio companies are founded by minority founders and 100% female led. But many are tackling these real world issues for diverse and underserved communities, from inclusive beauty brands all the way to childcare solutions for working parents to financial tools. But the most rewarding part of my work is seeing female founders turn lived experiences into scalable, world-changing companies. And these women really are solving problems they've felt personally. And when they win, their success ripples out to really uplift entire communities. And really, what happens is that ripple effect is, by giving them access to capital, we're unlocking massive innovation and economic growth that benefits everyone. So every female founder we back is proof that the next generation belongs at the table. And that's the kind of legacy I want to build.
So powerful. Yeah, so powerful, that statement. What are, conversely, those three things that you think like a founder should avoid doing this if they want to get founded?
Yeah, I think, as venture capital is quite the journey. When you're raising capital, it'll test you in ways you really can't imagine. And here's here's kind of what I think about when I tell founders to avoid. Don't expect quick wins. Plan to meet with 100 investors. Every no is just one step closer to your yes. Secondly, don't be afraid to network relentlessly. I mean, this is for anyone, whether you're building a business, whether you're an investor, whether you're at a company, networking is key. And so cold outreach works, but warm intros matter even more. Be shameless about asking for friends for introductions, mentors for introductions, even LinkedIn connections to help open doors for you. And third, I'd say don't take feedback personally. You'll get a lot of constructive criticism. I get it too. I hear a lot of founders getting it, and just take what's useful, leave what's not, and always remember that you know your business best. And then lastly, just try and pitch while telling a strong story. So investors are really drawn to clear, authentic narratives, and I want to hear why you are uniquely positioned to solve a problem. The founders who succeed are really the ones who combine this grit with storytelling. So they're not just sharing a business plan, but they're convincing me why I should believe in their mission and be on this journey with them.
And as we are going through interesting times right now where the Latino community, like your identity as a Latina, can be something that, it's put on the table. It's kind of, what is the word that I'm looking for? You almost don't know if leaning into being 100% Latina and that identity will help or hurt your business. Is there something as a Latina VC that you would like to tell that person listening, reading, that is on the edge of, you know what, DEI is just not a thing anymore, or people will target me to say I'm Latina, I'm building this? What would you say to that person, if anything?
Yeah. I'd say these amazing founders have so many credible qualities to build fantastic companies. They really bring this unmatched resilience, this confidence, and a deep connection to their communities. So I'd say lean into your perspective and lived experiences as a superpower. Even if you're in a room where no one else looks like you, no one else shares your same background, that difference is actually your advantage, and you bring ideas and insights that others simply just don't have. And so your hustle, your story will really set you apart. I say keep going. Like, people that are telling you to forget that, it's not going to be an advantage to you, that's simply not true, because your story is your superpower. Your perspective is your superpower. So people love backing founders who have fought for every opportunity, and that kind of grit is magnetic. It's just simply unforgettable. And really, this next generation of diverse founders should never feel like they need to fit in to succeed. The goal isn't to blend in, right? It's to stand out, it's to lead with authenticity. Customers, investors, and beyond will resonate with that. And anyone who says otherwise, I don't know if you really, you want to consider who you want to work with. Like, you get to also choose who you want around the table. And I do think that there are enough people who will believe in you to get there.
And last question for you is, from those unicorns that you have, when you think about them, what makes you most excited about?
Gosh. Well, we have some incredible companies. Babylist is a $1 billion baby registry. Metropolis is parking technology. These companies I'm just so proud of in the Halogen portfolio. But really, my vision is to create this future where founders in general are getting funded, diverse founders in particular, and celebrated at the level that they deserve. And so when I get to say that we have 5 unicorns in our portfolio, I am so excited to basically celebrate these founders to get there and to keep going. And because we're investing in such early stage, we get to be a part of this journey for a lot of these founders. And when they reach that unicorn level, it's that much more exciting. And you reflect on, wow, this founder really went through so much to get there, right? And it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows, but they're still being celebrated at the level in which they deserve, especially the kind of companies and founders that we're investing in. And we really need, this celebration on both sides, on my side, the investor side, and then on the founder side. So investors really rooting for their founders, and founders really rooting for each other too. So, it's exciting. We're investing in great businesses that are solving problems that really matter. And, with the 75 portfolio companies and counting and those 5 unicorns, we've really proven that diversity breeds success. So I'm really hoping that, there will be many more in the ecosystem, and that'll kind of create this incredible ripple effect to more money going towards great founders and great investments.
Okay, did you hear something that you liked in today's episode? If so, don't keep it to yourself. Go ahead right now. Yes, right now, before this episode ends, and send this episode to those 3 friends, 3 girlfriends that you can go to talk about finance, independence, money, business growth, entrepreneur life, and all of these juicy topics. Share this episode with them, because that is the only way we can grow together. I'm Alejandra Rojas, your host, and I will see you next week. Mwah.